The bracing sequence is a 5-part procedure to make sure that we find proper alignment in our body. It's a bit of a lot to take in at first, and then it becomes very much second nature as you go along. It's part of most movements. It's part of yoga a lot of times. So it's a good way to learn to get braced, so get aligned and use your muscles to support your structure. So here we go. The first step is to find a parallel alignment for your feet. So for the time being, we'll keep the feet right under the hips. That will vary depending on the movements we're doing. So feet are parallel, and from here what I want to do is instead of letting my knees collapse to the inside, I want to engage some external rotation. So if I draw arrows to the outside on the floor, you can see I'm talking about external rotation. So my knees line up with the center of my feet. So no further either. You might be able to go further, but what we want is dead center. You might feel that coming all the way up into your glutes. That's really good. So we're firing up the quads, we're firing up the glutes. We're creating a nice arch on the floor with the feet. You want to keep your toes splayed really wide. Avoid your feet from rolling out. So very strong planted feet grabbing the floor like you're trying to screw your feet into the ground. Next, I just mentioned already, firing up your glutes, firing up your pelvic floor, and firing up your core. So this whole region here is all working together or against each other to create a lot of stability here. Next is checking with your rib cage. So you want to line up your ribs right in line with your hips. It's pretty obvious once you fire up this network properly. You shouldn't really have to tweak this one, but just checking that your ribs are not just sticking out. That would be hyperextending your spine. So you just want, as you fire your core, it brings your hips right in line. So glutes, pelvic floor, and abdominal wall all fired up working together. Next is the shoulders. Here we'll use a concept we call shoulder loop. Comes up all the time in yoga as well. It's basically external rotation again. So if we loop the shoulders up and over, as they come back and down, you find this area where they just hook. So my shoulder blades come back and down, and my shoulders just find a stable, like racked position back there. So looping the shoulders up and over and finding shoulder loop in the back. Notice how with my hands it brings in again this external rotation. So it brings my palms facing forward, not completely flat either. That would take me to hyperextend a little bit. So roughly 45 degrees is pretty standard for everybody. Next is finding a neutral position in your neck. So here you can imagine that you're suspended from the crown of your head, growing really tall here. For some people, it feels like you're ramping your head up and back. You can think also like your chin is on the shelf. That's kind of the quick check, but really you want this big bowling ball to be right in line with your center. So if you talk about the core line as the center of you, like the core of an apple, you know your head is right on line, right over your heart, which is right over your lower belly center as well. So that's the bracing sequence for you.